So, hey Libra, my name is Chris, and this is your beautiful reading for whenever you freaking find it. In 2026, I might add. So, yeah, it's a big transformative year. You know that, we all know that, we feel it. It's there whenever you turn on the news, and here we go again. Oh, there's the Seven of Swords and the Five of Cups. That's narcissistic abuse, my friend. That's that's the narcissist of the tarot deck. That's the Seven of Swords, and that's the Five of Cups. So obviously somebody cheated on you, somebody, abused you, put down your cups, sabotaged you, whatever. So you have to look at that and you have to just accept it. The story of the Five of Cups, of course, is always that one of these cups was poisoned, right? Two good cups down, but one of these cups had a greenish liquid, so poison. So it's time to turn around, take your still remaining standing two cups and move on with life, right? Seven of Swords, let's just see, that's the narcissist of the tarot deck, right? Page of Cups and the Page of Pentacles. The Page of Pentacles is basically telling you, look, you lost something, you got something, you got cheated probably. Take what is left. What's left is enough, and if you take that, and if you run with it, by the way, don't run with it. Walk gently, in dignity, one step at a freaking time with it, right? So I'm not promoting to run everything that is done hasty or, it's not a good idea, right? One step at a time, never run. That's the big advice for 2026, right? You got everything you need to build something beautiful that is working for you. Page of Pentacles, Page of Cups. You might have been super focused on these three cups, right? And they got spilled. One was very, very toxic. And I would say one of these cups might have been a cup that the narcissist himself or herself gave to you so she could control you better. Let that sink in for a moment. Think about it. Is there something that was given to you that was completely toxic, and you hanging on to that would have, put you on a trajectory of not so good direction, right? What am I trying to tell you? Sometimes narcissistic people give you something that's the bait, so to speak, right? Think about the bait, right? So I give you something that looks nice and shiny, and look at all that, right? And if you take it, I got you hooked, right? And Three of Cups, the Five of Cups is telling that story that bait that the narcissist gave you was spilled over. So thank God for that, because if you had taken that cup and built a life on it, the narcissist would have been interwoven with that life, if that makes any sense. So narcissistic abuse is always horrible, right, to go through, but it's in the past. Five of Cups is past energy. What's left is enough. That's the emphasis that I'm hearing that is presented here in the Five of Cups with the two cups that are still standing. What's left is enough. So take what's left and take especially what brings you joy and happiness, right? And then just go on with that and make something out of it. Turn around and restart your life, dust yourself off and just say, okay, that was pretty shitty, but life goes on. What's left is enough. Work on that. And if you put in the work, right? If you work on what is left, there's the Star card and there's the Eight of Pentacles. You have to put in the work. You have to show up for it. You have to do something with these cups that are still remaining. But the Page of Pentacles is telling you that you got everything you need. So you got the strengths, you got the skill sets, you got the, you got everything you need to be happy and successful with these still remaining cups. So don't, I've been through narcissistic abuse. If you watch this channel, if you resonate with this channel, maybe you have your own story to tell, right? That's the Seven of Swords, and that's the Five of Cups. I'm not sugarcoating this, right? I'm not saying that was fun or that was okay. You might have, been baited into something that was just not right for you. And that was destroyed, or that was sabotaged. And alongside with it, these two good cups as well. So you have every right to be angry. You have every right to be frustrated about that, what happened. But you're not doing yourself a service if you live your life in frustration and anger, looking back into the past, being occupied with that concept of guilt. The concept of guilt is always looking into the past, and it's always something to do with blaming, resentment, and pain. And as long as you're holding on to pain and this concept of guilt, you're kind of living your life in the past, because guilt itself is a past concept, Guilt is always referring into the past, but you cannot change the past. You can only change the here and now. So by all means, take responsibility. That's the here and now concept. Very Buddhist concept, right? It's not so much about guilt and forgiveness, which is a very Christian thing to do. It's about turning around. What's left is enough. Take your cups. You got everything you need to build a new life, a better life with that, right? Wish fulfilled from the universe, and the Eight of Cups, the Eight of Pentacles here, taking responsibility, joyful, loving creation, and the Star card, right? It's support from the universe. There you are, right? There you are, joyful creation with the Nine of Cups. Nine of Cups is one of the most beloved cards in the tarot deck, and the power couple with the Four of Swords. Cultivate your mind. 8 cards. Let's just do 2 more. Cultivate your mind, meditation and breathwork. That kind of narcissistic abuse sent you out into the Five of Pentacles energy, right? The Five of Pentacles is a pretty heavy frequency, right? Not joyful at all, right? Maybe that's some sort of dark night of the soul. Goes right to that, but there is justice, right? There is coming something out of it. Yeah, let's just do that. That was the story, right? Narcissistic abuse, 5 of Cups, 3 cups down, 1 was poisoned, right? So that was the bait of the narcissist. She wanted you to take that poisoned cup to build a life with it. But that the universe intervened, right? And maybe the narcissist did it himself, right? You're not rebuilding that cup, because that cup was toxic. And it sent you out into a time of change, into maybe a dark night of the soul. When you think about bigger developmental cycles since 2008, for example, or the last 9 or 10 years. But you're getting something out of that. From the 5 of Pentacles to the 6 of Pentacles, this is balancing things out. You lost something, so you're getting something else. The universe always opens a door for you when another door is closing. Maybe not at the freaking same time. Maybe you're not realizing it at the same time. But the most important lesson here is what's left is enough. And that poisonous cup that the narcissist gave you, if you had built a life upon that, you would never have independence or gained independence from this narcissistic person. Or maybe these narcissistic people, maybe there were more, right? So in a way, you have to make peace with what happened. That doesn't mean that you become friends with the narcissist. That doesn't mean that you say everything that happened was okay. It doesn't mean that you smile when you actually feel like, not smiling at all, right? But the Two of Cups is this energy where you have to allow the past to be close, right? Closure. Making peace in the sense that you're no longer fighting the fight of the past, but moving on with what you've got, the blessings that are still there, that was meant for you. That was just the temptation. That was just, something, maybe a super job, maybe something that looks perfect on your CV, maybe that job that made a ton of money, or at least promised to make a ton of money, right? But if you have to sell your soul for it, if you have to spend your time with toxic people, if you have to betray your principles, then maybe it's better that didn't work out. Even if there was narcissistic abuse involved in it, but you making peace with it doesn't mean that you say, oh, okay, what, narcissist, that's okay, let's be friends. That's bullshit. That's not going to happen, right? It's absolutely not going to happen. Not with my narcissistic abuse story, and certainly not with your narcissistic abuse story. But the Two of Cups means basically that you allow closure, right? That you say, okay, what happened. But you know what? I'm turning around, I'm taking responsibility for my life, and I'm moving on to something better, and what's left is enough, and I'm building and rebuilding my own life, joyful, loving creation. That's you in your highest potential. Not proving anything. It's not the King of Pentacles, right? Maybe they promised you the King of Pentacles, but the King of Pentacles had a price, right? So you had to betray yourself. You had to betray your principles. You had to live your life with toxic people, right? You don't want that. So that is much better, right? He's not wearing a crown. He's not sitting on a freaking throne, but he has his beautiful cups, and his heart is connected to it. Cups energy is always heart, emotional energy. He's well dressed, though, right? He's well off. He's not the king, right? But he's wearing a funny hat, right? And he's happy with what he's doing. And that's much more worthy and beautiful than having the big car and the big job title and the big bucks, while you actually have to go against your principles and your inner guidance. So that, of course, asks a lot of wisdom and insight, right? From us to see it like that. Cultivate that insight, cultivate that self-love through the Four of Swords. The Four of Swords is pretty much you processing what happened and making peace with it, so you're not constantly losing energy by looking back in anger and frustration. Because if you look back into the past in anger and frustration, you're kind of poisoning the present moment, because the past is gone, right? The past is always a memory that is happening in the present moment. If you're thinking about the past, you're basically wasting the present. And only in the here and now, in the present moment, lies your power, lies your creativity. So make peace with what happened and just freaking move on from that. Meditation, breathwork can help you. I mean, if you have been going through narcissistic abuse and that was happened to you, you need to release some negative energy, right? 10 seconds in, 20 seconds out, 7 seconds in, 14 seconds out, whatever you can do comfortably, but you should press out the breath at the end of it 2 times. The out breath should be 2 times that of the in breath. You're releasing negativity. It's a daily practice, just like going to the gym, just like doing your workout, a daily practice to do that, right? And then you have all of your energy not wasted by looking back in anger, but by focusing all of your beautiful energy on working on that, what makes sense to you. 8 of Pentacles, 9 of Cups. The Star card is here. You got everything you need, and just the reminder again and again, meditation and breathwork is a daily healing practice. There's the Star card again. Star card clarified by the Star card. Basically, you can also see it like this, right? Everyday joyful creation plus meditation and breathwork, and the universe is totally on your side. You got 2 times the Star card now. That's the message, right? 2 times the Star card. That's, you just go for it, right? Go for it. You know what to do. Go for it. Just, all lights are green. The World card, closure with the old chapter. This is not, you don't need to be friends with these people. You just need to make peace and, now Bedaya, and not entertaining any more drama. Don't engage, don't explain, don't defend, don't personalize, just move on, live your life, live your best life, and be done with that, right? And just be freaking done with it. The Tower is probably connected to that disappointment in the past. It is kind of representing this poisoned cup, right? This Tower, very narrow structure, much too tight for you. It has a crown, right? The Tower has a crown, but the lightning struck, whatever. The crown flew off. You were thrown out of that tower. Why? Because that tower was poisoned. It was limiting your potential. It was just not freaking right and meant for you. You still got your experience. You still got your skill set. You still got everything you need. Accept that and move on from it, right? 2 of Cups is not the Lovers, right? The 2 of Cups is absolutely not the Lovers. These represent 2 antagonistic aspects of the universe, basically 2 sides of the coin, so to speak, fire and water, so to speak, coming together and saying, okay, you're fire, you're water, Tattvam Asi and that too, so let's just, make peace. It doesn't mean that, 2 parties who engaged in war before, when they make peace, that doesn't mean that they become friends, but the war is ending and it frees your energy to create what is yours and what you totally deserve. First rule of mental health, learn to distinguish who deserves an explanation, who deserves only an answer, and who deserves absolutely nothing. And absolutely nothing in this case means not even the energy to sit there in anger and resentment and pain, because if you are angry about something that happened in the past, you're still giving it energy. Use that energy to have a great day, to create your beautiful life, right? Joyful everyday creation. This is a bigger topic here. This is about narcissistic abuse, and we're going a little deeper here what narcissistic abuse actually means, right? So narcissistic abuse can mean if somebody is sabotaging your life, if somebody is cheating you, you've been through that probably most likely in the last 9 or 10 years, most likely. If you're a decent human being who is empathic, you've probably been through that, right? Probably since 2008, right? But what the narcissist does is he's trying to lower your frequency. Guilt, fear, shame, frustration, anger, hatred, ultimately hatred. That's the narcissistic game. Lowering your frequency, taking away your joy, isolating you, and focusing your attention towards lower, denser frequency. Guilt, fear, shame, anger, ultimately hatred. So if you went through narcissistic abuse and you're still thinking about it every day and you're still arguing with it in your head and you're still upset about it, then that has still an effect on you. And it's still lowering your frequency. And you don't want that, because that is in itself a narcissistic function to lower your frequency of your consciousness. What you want to do is you want to raise your consciousness. You want to raise your frequency, not live in guilt, fear, shame, hatred, or anger, but use it to raise your frequency. Joyful, loving creation, breathwork and meditation. That's a daily practice. Every day, joyful creation, meditation, breathwork. If you do that every day, if you have the time for it, to combine that with physical exercises, you just do what makes sense for you, one freaking step at a time. And you're just so busy raising your own frequency, doing what makes sense to you, that you're not even having the time, not even wasting energy to think about all that jazz that happened in the past, right? Why? Because it would drag you down into lower frequencies. And that in itself is kind of the aftermath or the afterglow of narcissistic abuse. If you make peace with what happened, doesn't mean that you say it's okay. Or, you're just moving on from it and freeing your bandwidth, freeing your energy from that negativity. That was kind of a little, difficult concept maybe, but it's very important to get that. What else we got? Yeah. Society is like a stew. If you don't stir it up once in a while, then a layer of scum floats to the top. Edward Abbey. That's definitively true, but if you focus on the scum in this world, you're not going to get happiness. So focus on your loving, joyful creation. Sometimes that means to stand up for justice. Sometimes that means to stand up for what is right and decent, even if your voice is shaking. But try not to lower your frequency. If they steal, don't steal. If they lie, do not lie. If they have all these shady behaviors, you do not engage in the same shady behaviors, right? That's pretty much how this magic works here. And you got beautiful cards, and 5 of Pentacles, 5 of Cups, and the 7 of Swords here is totally connected, but to the past. That's past energy. The World card is here, emphasizing the fact that this is an old story and it needs closure. It doesn't mean that you become best friends or friends at all with these people, but you just don't engage in any more drama. Pendragon Sword, that's that's number 41. Yeah, that's balance, basically. That's wisdom and balance. This consecrated sword represents balance, power, and wisdom, qualities bestowed only to those who have earned them. This is a coming of age for you. Much can be accomplished now with relative ease, provided you remain balanced and grounded. You are bestowed the power of dragon, ruler, king, and magician. This great honor and privilege is also a great responsibility. You can hold this power indefinitely for as long as you honor, respect, and use it wisely. Be wise enough to understand how this energy frequency thing works. Whatever you focus your attention on, this is pretty much what you emphasize. This is what you give power and energy to, and if you focus on it, it will grow. If you focus on hatred and frustration, of guilt, fear, shame, and anger, that will get your energy just by spending time with it, you know, using your present or wasting your present moment with these frequencies and energies and emotions. If you instead be wise enough, right, Pendragon Sword, to focus your energy on joyful, everyday, loving creation, working on that, showing up for it. Why? Because it means something to you, you like to do it, and then the universe is conspiring just as well. The universe is always conspiring, by the way. Even if you fight windmills all day long, right? The universe is conspiring with that. You know, oh, she wants to fight windmills. Okay, give her more windmills, right? But if the universe realizes, oh, she wants to do joyful, loving creation every day, meditation, breath work, you know, cultivating your consciousness, cultivating your mind, focus on that, what you love to do, and, you know, then the universe is conspiring with that. So in order to do that, you have to let it go, and the way to let it go is to make peace with it. Okay, let's just do one animal oracle card. Time to let go. Groundhog Spirit, right? You're repeating the past if you hold on too tight to the past. You literally just turn around. What's left is enough. Take your 2 cups there they are. Sorry, turn around, take your 2 cups and build a better, beautiful life with it. And sometimes you might look back and think, oh my God, what happened? You know, but you're moving on from it. You can't change the past, but you can wisely decide where you put your focus on in the here and now. And that's taking responsibility. And that is so much more worthy than the concept of guilt and forgiveness. That does not necessarily mean forgiveness. It just means forgiveness in the sense, it doesn't mean forgiveness in the sense that you become friends with the narcissist. That's bullshit, right? It means forgiveness in the sense that you let go. And you owe it to yourself to let go. And then you do that and you take responsibility. Karma will take care of itself, right? You don't need... Karma is the workings of the universe, basically. The universe doesn't need you to bring divine justice, right? It will take care of it in its own way. Trust on that and move on and, you know, take responsibility for your joyful, loving creation. And then you're blessed, right? And that's all I got. And I hope it resonates with you. If it does, share, like, subscribe, leave a comment, let me know what you think about it. There's a summer reading, there's a yearly reading. Check out your sun, moon, and rising if you want the full picture. And hopefully see you next time. Now, goodbye, my friend. Ciao.